is the 257 of Ukrainian resistance, Ukraine Median Center, Ukraine Foreign Contingency Operation, and it's Vasil Samokhvalov, and we're starting our first briefing. About to join us is Oleksandr Kharchenko, director at Energy Industry Research Center, and we'll ask him about the situation with Ukrainian energy industry. Yesterday there was a huge wave of panic after publishing, including in international mass media, about the blackout, evacuation of Kyiv, and so on. And then there was a change of idea by Kyiv administration as well. So how should we treat the scenarios like that? All right, let me not comment the statements by the local authorities because it's wrong on my end. What I see as of today is a great number of strikes on the key points of our energy infrastructure, and I think that about 160 of them were targeted rocket attacks and missile attacks. I understand that the sufficient number of damage and shutdowns which are happening now are a controlled process. So the word blackout is in fact the term in energy industry is the uncontrolled shutdown of the system. It means the shutdowns which are not controlled by the dispatchers, and they are accompanied by the accidents on the energy infrastructure in facilities. This situation does not exist at the moment, and I don't see any precondition for this situation to happen without the trifold efforts by and trifold results of such efforts by the Russian government. And at the moment I see the work by Ukrenergo, who in fact very efficiently work on restarting the energy reserves layouts and connecting the power supply to all the key points, including Kyiv, because the way Kyiv is connected to the power grid now was not even something that we could imagine previously. We have enough repair brigades, we have enough people who work at the moment. There is certain deficit of equipment, but at the same time there is a very tense dialogue with all the European companies, all the European partners who are capable to share certain equipment with us in quick and efficient manner. They are sharing it already. The equipment is coming, and many of our European and American partners take very significant efforts so we could get this equipment as soon as possible. And when you get to the facility which was hit by a missile just 2 days ago, and you see all the debris being removed from there, the equipment sorted out and is about to resume its normal operation. I understand that the local authorities physically don't have time for this, but when you get to an installation like that, it's quite inspirational. I have another question. If anybody has any more questions, please raise your hand and ask your question. But I will ask mine. As to the help, I understand that there are European standards, international standards, there are post-Soviet standards, and it's the main challenge for us. What is the probability that we will switch to NATO energy standard during the war? We already started this transition before the war, not even so due to the war, but we already synchronized our system with Europe, and we are part of the European Union in terms of our energy supply system. And in terms of equipment, we're walking this road, and we're walking it quite quickly. There are certain types of equipment which are used in Ukraine but not used in Europe. For example, 750 kilovolt lines. They are not used in Europe because they don't have distances to transport the electricity to. Because Ukraine is a big country and we have requirements like that. But in other terms, we move towards standardization. Good afternoon, Andriy Sviatina, yes, Inform. I have a question as to the expert. Don't you think that the occupiers try with the hands of our government who are not quite who don't quite know the details of the war, that to recreate the situation that was happening in the modern history in 77, 79, when the Prime Minister of Democratic Cambodia started the course of radical reconstruction of the society. By implementation of the model of no goods economy, including the relocation of citizens to the rural areas, creating cooperatives and creating communes in the rural areas. You know that 1,700,000 people perished. Well, I don't see anything that moves us to that direction. Another question, please.
From Italian Daily Corriere della Sera from Milano. Sir, I have a couple of questions. First of all, could you be more clear? It's important, as you notice, the international press pick up the declaration by the mayor of Kyiv, talking about maybe the possibility of shutting down Kyiv, having a movement of population which sound real, talking also with friends. I'd like really you to elaborate. I know it's not in your capacity, but please, you can comment. Is really this the case, and are you thinking in this term? Secondly,
let's start question by question, just to okay. Something, okay?
Yeah.
First of all, it's not my job to comment what mayor said. Mm-hmm. But what I can say is that I see that resiliency of Ukrainian energy system is absolutely enough to avoid blackout in Kyiv. I can't see any technical precautions to this situation. And in my mind, Kyiv is safe enough, at minimum today. And to hit Kyiv to blackout, government of Moscow with their terroristic act must act 3-4 times more effectively than they can do, as we see. That in my mind, our energy system is more resilient than their capability. From other side, of course, all of us has to be ready for hard situation, has to be ready for new attack. And now it's absolutely realistically that we have situation to survive and not to live in comfort. It's like a clear for me and for anyone who work now in energy and who make a maintenance, renovation, reconnection, and everything related to energy supply, both in Kyiv and around Ukraine.
Thank you, sir. And since now I'm asking something which really concerns your matter, that's why we are here to follow your interesting remarks. Could you please tell us more detail? Till a few days ago, the same Zelensky, the president, spoke about 40% of the facade of the system being damaged, and 4.5 million houses being without electricity. Can you tell us more detail, maybe around Kyiv, some region, more technical?
I will try to provide you some detail.
And how quickly are you able to restore? Also, technical data, how much you're getting from Europe, how long it takes you to repair, what do you need, etc. Thank you.
Okay, I will try to give you some more detail, which is quietly not sensitive in this situation. It's clear that we have Russian government attacked all our energy stations. They attacked more than 100 objects in our energy system at all. And full amount of rockets and more than 170. When we are talking about damages, I believe that peak of damage was really near the 40% of our energy transportation infrastructure, I mean power grid itself. But you have to understand that 40% it's immediately after attack happened. And after 3 hours, I could believe that it's 39. After 3 days, it's 32. How it works in real life with maintenance and renovation? First wave of renovation is up to 12 hours. It means that engineers and dispatchers, first of all in Ukrenergo as well in the regional distribution companies, work to resupply consumers who lost supply because of this concrete attack. It takes up to 12 hours, and usually we resupply consumers at minimum for 50–60% capacity in the region which was targeted. Second line of renovation and maintenance take from 3 days to 1 month. It means we renovate everything and all equipment installation which is available right now in Ukraine. In, I could say, 60–70% of damages, we are able to do this. And other damages, which is really very heavy and hard, and where we're talking about top-level equipment, high-tech transformers, and related to this high-tech transformers equipment, it's really more complicated situation. Just to produce this equipment in peacetime from 9 months to 18 months, sometime even longer. Now we are in parallel discussion with many European, first of all, companies who could supply something in shortest way, because they have something, I could say, safety storages which they could share with us. We have very good response, and I believe that we will have some quick supply as well. And in parallel, we are working with producers who are able to make our orders out of line, because all of them have a queue of orders with this kind of equipment. It's quite popular around the world. And in this case, we are working on both political and technical level to persuade people that Ukraine now in special situation and we need this equipment first in queue, first in line. As well, it's quite, we have good response and we have understanding from our partners, which is very good in my mind.
Дякую дуже за прояснення, до речі, між
Thank you very much. First of all, for the explanation between the destroyed and damaged infrastructure. Another question. Good afternoon. Every citizens are curious about the fact when the situation will improve, when the shutdowns will become shorter. I hear this question very frequently. First of all, when the schedules will coincide with those who are published. They will coincide, we will know the schedule of rockets and missile attacks on our energy infrastructure. When we know it, we will be able to forecast all the shutdowns and to warn everybody when it is about to happen. Please believe me that the energy technicians love schedules just like everyone else. For us, the operation of the energy system should be written down minute by minute in volts, points, and everything related to the maximum extent possible, so that under the conditions of absence of attacks, we can return people to their customer level of comfort. We need about from 3 to 5 weeks, but it's in the absence of attacks. Well, if Ukraine is connected so well to the European power grid, can we hope that European Union shares their energy supply with us? Look, we don't currently have this need. We have this opportunity. We can import power from European Union, but as of today, our problem is not the generation. The key problem is not the amount of energy we produce, but it's about the damage on the transportation lines for this. So can you imagine there is a highway that we transported electricity through, and some bridges or crossroads is destroyed on this highway, and we channel this energy through, say, rural roads, and there are traffic jams on that, and we don't have enough power to feed all of our economy. And to renew these highways, we need 3 to 5 quiet weeks to do it. Vladislav Obuch, Ukrinform, some experts say that those problems, or the way of complication of those problems we're facing now, are related mostly to centralization of Ukrainian energy system. Do you see any prospects for decentralization? Is it necessary to do, or it's not going to be necessary after the victory, and what regulations are needed for this? And another question related to this is for the development of accumulation of electric energy with the count of all technical possibilities and our financial capabilities. Well, let me go question by question. As to the centralization, if Ukraine doesn't have centralized and integrated, united energy grid, half of Ukraine would stay without power today. I can tell you this with calculation, graphs, and long conversation, but if we don't have very powerful united power grid, which allows preservation and accumulation and switching of transit ways of power, we would have half of Ukraine without power today. Now, as to the accumulation of the energy, it's obviously the way of Ukraine, and even before the war, there was a huge number of projects that were about to be launched, and they continued to be worked on during the war, but we understand that under the conditions when we have strikes every week, any sane investor would not bring anything. And another circumstance is that industrial batteries are in deficit now all around the world. And to translate it into simple words, what's deficit? It means that companies as General Electric or Tesla, they consider queuing this type of equipment on the order for 2 years is the quickest they can satisfy the demand of the consumers, and some say even 3 years. So unfortunately, it would not be a very simple solution, no matter how important it is for Ukraine, but we keep working in that direction. And my probably last question from myself, in this situation, this household generation, how could it help? For example, solar energy, wind energy connected to the common grid that can provide electricity for some rural communities, and what are the prospects of development of this industry? The thing is, it's a little bit more complicated than just regular utility generation, because without the battery component it wouldn't work. Unfortunately, I see a lot of such information. We installed the solar panel on the roof. The first question is, where's the battery and what's its capacity? Because solar generation, like household, both solar and wind power generation would not cover your needs. Ukraine, by conclusions of war, it will become the world leader by the number of generators of autonomous capacity. It's not a question. It goes without saying. But as to the rest, I think that these complexes are about to be popular, and the government should stimulate this. But it shouldn't be a development of different components of generation, but complexes which include battery component, because it doesn't work another way. Because to balance networks like that, it's most likely, like for example, the experience of the United States show that in some regions where they try to develop solar energies without account of anything else, they have different problems arising in the network. Let's end with this. We had Oleksandr Kharchenko, the director of Energy Research Institute, and we will, at 1 o'clock, we will talk to Yuri Ignat, the spokesperson for Air Force Command. See you soon.